Let us look at the literature review. It is basically the comprehensive study and the interpretations of the literature that is related to your research topic. I would say that this is going to be the most challenging chapters which you're going to encounter in your own thesis. The reason being is it requires you to read a lot of research articles, conducting an extensive review based on the research articles that you have read. There are so many fragmented informations you need to process, putting the pieces together in order to gain a bigger picture of the topic, digest it, and present it in your own words. There will be an extensive readings involved, a lot of notes taking, much effort and time will be spent in order to understand the content as well as to organize the informations. And this process is carried out throughout your research study. You will need to be able to recall the relevant informations as well as the relevant sources that you can trace when you need certain informations at any stages of your research study. My personal experience with students, many are presenting literature review which are not actually the literature review. It is as if an compilations of informations, some sort of summary, and most of the time they are not well organized. The information is still scattered around. There is no clear purpose or message behind all the information provided. It is as if for the sake of writing a literature review, compilations of series of the words, making them into paragraphs, and then leave it to the supervisor or the examiner to interpret it. Based on what our students have written, more or less we can tell that students have little understanding on what they have read. They have not fully digest the informations, and the informations are not integrated together, giving you meaningful informations and message. They don't see the purpose of doing the literature review. In fact, this is normal because most of the students are not well trained to review some literature. Most of the time, the students are not taught to doing any literature review. If you find yourselves in the category of this kind of students, don't be disheartened. It's not your fault, as you have never been exposed to this. I hope as you go through this section, you will gain a better idea how the literature review is conducted. And I hope I can make it clear enough for you, at least the directions for you to start with a good literature review. Now that you know that what is a literature review, which is in fact a comprehensive study and the interpretations of the literature of your research topic, there should be components of the review as well as the study. It is as if you are studying through the literature, analyze all the information that you acquire from the literature, and coming out with your own interpretations, as well as indicating your finding out of what you have observed from the group of literature. The literature review itself is a mini scale of your research study. It is in fact a research study standalone. If you interpret in this manner, you will know it constitutes of gathering informations, analyzing informations, having discussions, and there will be findings and conclusions as per a typical research study. And what most of the students are not aware of, they compile, they do summary with little effort to organize the informations, which him himself may or may not understand it and then present in a section with a good number of pages, expecting the supervisor or the examiner to understand those. What they are lacking of is there are no components of critical thinking. You don't see the inputs of the students. The student did not demonstrate that they have digested the informations and transforms into something which is meaningful or useful. That is the critical difference between the literature review that the typical student produce than those being expected by your supervisor or the examiners. While doing the literature review, you need to identify your research problem or your research questions. The 2 points here represent the purpose of the literature review. First is for you to identify a research question. Second is for you to seek for the answer for this question, which is by searching for and analyzing relevant literature using a systematic approach. You see, there is component of analysis, and you will need to use systematic approach to do that. There will be questions and there will be answer. You are asking yourself question and you are seeking your own answer. This is the general aim or purpose of the literature review. This can be refined further to the following purposes, such as to identify the gap in the research area, to avoid reinventions of the wheel. The meaning of reinventions of the wheel is you don't have to repeat anything that has been done by the previous researcher. That will be a waste of the efforts and money, because knowing what has been established previously in the pool of knowledge within the field, you can stay focused on whichever is not known yet, adding back to the pool of knowledge, serving as a database to the research community until to the stage that we gain full understanding on the topics that we are studying. That's why it is always in the culture of research community, seeking for new things to offer to the pool of knowledge, instead of duplicating a research, offering the same thing. In order to achieve that, of course you have to have some prior understanding in terms of the stages of technological development, so that you don't waste your effort on something which is already known. The next purpose it will be to continue from what others has completed. It's like transferring the knowledge from one person to another through proper documentations, where the next person inherited all the knowledge that acquired from the previous person and proceed with the following journey of seeking the better understanding and knowledge related to the research topic. Another purpose of the literature review is to know the other people working in the field. For every research article, the names of the authors are clearly stated. While doing the literature review, there will be a lot of citing of other people's work, where credits are given to the peoples contributing to the work. Through this, we know who made which contribution. Knowing these people, there will be a trace providing informations who to look for when come to which kind of topic. Next is to measure the depth of knowledge. We would like to know how much the research community have achieved, to which level the community has understood the topic, and so on so far. Now let us look at the functions of the literature review. there will be summarizing of the previous research on the topic. This part normally our students have no problem. Most of the students can do the summarizing well. Only that most of the students, their literature review stop at this level. The literature review should also review the scholarly literature relevant to the topic studied. This is where the analysis and personal critical thinkings and inputs are imposed onto the informations acquired. The literature review also helps to design the research methodology and help the others to interpret the planned research. By looking at the methodology carried out by previous researcher, you gain an idea and respective details for you to replicate their methodology, adopt them in your own research. They also provide you technical insights in terms how they design their research, how they ensure their experiment or tests are conducted in credible ways, how they're going to analyze their results with high level of reliability and accuracy. This will help you a lot in designing your own research. Sometimes you cannot fully replicate the research methodology conducted by the other researcher due to some unique conditions or some practical issues such as the availability of the facility or qualified persons to carry out the respective research or the testing. Due to those limitations, you might need to search for other alternatives, seeking through other literature, see if there are other researchers can give you some ideas to overcome it, or by modifying the relevant study or test setup in order to achieve the same purposes. This is how the literature review can help you in designing your research methodology. Another functions of the literature review is to help you to focus on a specific topic of interest and include a critical analysis of the relationship among different works, as well as how it is related to your research work. What you see here, doing a literature review is not an easy job. There are so much to achieve. Not only you need to make summaries of the previous study, reviews the informations and findings as acquired from the previous literature, finding answers for you to proceed with your research project, as well as establishing the fundamental understanding for your own research, and so on so forth. Having all these components together, it makes the literature review to be complex. I can assure you, normally your first draft of your literature review will be very significantly different from your final draft of your literature review if you are doing it in the right way. Because during your first draft, a lot of information it will be scattered. You may not be able to cover all the necessary part for the need of your research. This is quite normal as your level of understanding of the topic that you are studying, which is at the initial stage of your research, may not be there. You only understand a bit, and there will be a huge chunk of it you still cannot see. What you can do here is you do step by step, resolving one issue and then follow with the next issue. Whichever that you have read, make some notes so that you can recall and you are able to trace the relevant sources in the case that you need it in future. As you go along with your research, you gain better understanding and you have a bigger pictures of your research. You know more about your research. You know more what are the areas you should put emphasis. Then you continue to do the literature review. You might find yourself reading through the similar set of literature, having different opinions or understanding when you are at different level of your research. This one is also okay, which is normal. At least this indicates that you have grown so much as you go along with your research. You should be happy for it. Every time you do the review, you see new things, you gain better understanding, and then you produce a better review works. Throughout your research, you have to polish and review your literature for several times until to the stage that most of the things are established, covering different aspects and the parts required for the literature review, fulfilling all the purposes of the literature review, and you found yourself how to make meaningful of your literature review and how does it help you in your research, then you are on the right track. The literature review is not meant for your supervisor or examiner. I would say most part of it is meant for you. As far as the examiner or supervisor concerned about your literature review, it is to demonstrate to them how do you do the literature review, what kind of thinking skill and thinking order that you went through for this literature review in order to achieve your research objectives. How meaningful are these literature reviews to you, and how can it help you to achieve your research objective? With that said, you should practice yourself with good literature review, and this will significantly improve your chances of having a good pass for your postgraduate study. In fact, this is a learning process. You may find it very slow, very discouraging, and very challenging at the early stage. But as you go along, you stay focused, be patient, observe your own growth. At the end of the day, when you see the outcome, you will feel satisfied. You will be quite amazed what you have gained so far, how much you have learned from the literature review.